Human trafficking is an emerging public health issue that many doctors and other healthcare professionals know little or nothing about. The Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne County Medical Societies have joined together to educate our physician members about the special role they can play to combat this heinous crime in our communities.
Sexual trafficking is now the third largest crime industry in the world.
As physicians, I think we have a unique role because we're on the front lines, and we know from some fairly robust studies that people who are involved in sex trafficking, children and women and men, do seek medical attention. In one study, a full 88% had seen a medical provider at some point during the period they were being trafficked. So we know that they're coming to us, and we have the opportunity to, if we can recognize them, to intervene and offer services, offer some sort of help.
Here in this country, people are being bought, sold, and smuggled as modern-day slaves. Around the country, and right here in Michigan, men, women, and children are forced into prostitution, domestic servitude, and other labor for little or no pay.
Sex work or commercial sex is a very discrete industry, whereas labor can refer to a number of different industries. The service industry, including farm workers, restaurant workers, the beauty industry, domestic servitude, just a much wider variety.
Human trafficking is a huge problem, both inner city and in the suburbs. I know a lot of people think that it's an inner city problem. I'm here to tell you that it's not. As a task force, we spend actually most of our time out in the suburbs where these victims are recruited from and also where these victims are working.
Now, quite often the person accompanying that person to the emergency room or the health clinic, I mean, it could be the pimp in charge of the poor kid. And it's really important that they should be an independent person with them and not the person that accompanies them to the emergency room or the clinic or other healthcare facilities.
So that if we see some patients who are presenting with what are common consequences of human trafficking, such as drug ingestion, drug overdose, suicide attempts, sexually transmitted infections, pelvic inflammatory diseases, significant injuries, anogenital trauma, acute sexual assault, all of those things, then we should, in the back of our mind, think about the possibility that this child, this woman, this man may be a victim of human trafficking.
Sex traffickers target those vulnerable with histories of abuse. They use violence, threats, lies, false promises, debt bondage, or other forms of manipulation to keep victims trapped in the sex industry. Traffickers target victims online through social media websites, after-school programs, shopping malls, in clubs, on the streets, or amongst their peers.
Perpetrators will recruit their victims in all sorts of different ways. You have your finesse pimps who will try to recruit girls, making them think they're going to date them. Pimps are known to go out to malls and they'll go up to girls, look for low self-esteem. So they might go up to a girl, hey, you have pretty eyes. If that girl says thank you, they're going to move on for that girl. When that girl is bashful and, oh, no, I don't, are you, really? That's the time that perpetrators are going to sit down and talk to that girl more and build their confidence up.
And it can be as simple as a child who inadvertently gets something explicitly videotaped by a cell phone, and that person exploits them or blackmails them that I'm going to release this to the public unless you do X for me.
A person can also be trafficked without ever leaving their home or hometown.
I was from a wealthy, or at least well-to-do middle-class family in the UK, and my father threw me out of home when I was 18 years old. And I remember to this very day the horrible feeling of insecurity that I had at that time, which allows me to relate to a lot of these victims.
Under federal law, if you are a minor engaged in a commercial sex act, you are by definition a victim of a severe form of sex trafficking, which means that you do not have to show that you were compelled by any force, fraud, or coercion. Your sheer presence in that commercial act makes you a victim.
Heightened awareness of human trafficking has led to increased reporting of cases across Michigan, according to the Polaris Project, the leading anti-trafficking advocacy organization in the U.S.
I think one of the biggest things that physicians can do is just know the different trouble signs. no indicators to look for.
So if a child says, yes, I've had gonorrhea twice before and she's only 14, that should raise questions. If there's a history of a pregnancy and an abortion, if there's evidence on exam of inflicted trauma, so injuries that are in ordinarily protected places, on the inner thighs, for example, on the neck, on the torso, anywhere on the torso, the upper arms, and if they look suspicious like cigarette burns or loot marks, kids will say, yes, I've been beaten and burned, sometimes choked. So there may be evidence of inflicted trauma, and that should raise concerns as well.
When victims come to the hospital, it could be simple things as in that person that's with that victim getting medical attention and they don't have control of their ID or their passport.
The whole issue of safety is of paramount importance. If you suspect that the child is, or the woman is with their trafficker or with somebody who is associated with the trafficker, they may be with somebody called the bottom girl, who is the manager, the female manager, kind of the senior female in the group. And she may be the manager and she reports to the trafficker. So she may bring the child or the woman to the emergency department or the clinic. But if you suspect somebody they're with is associated with the trafficker, it's extremely important to keep cognizant of issues of safety and make sure that the child or the woman, man, feels safe. Once you get the patient alone, is to say, do you feel safe talking to me? And if not, why not? And is there anything we can do to help you feel safe?
To combat this criminal enterprise and to protect those who are truly vulnerable, we need to express our concerns and suspicions, form active alliances, and cooperate more fully with all who may encounter suspected victims.
Don't be afraid to call. I would rather you call in the tip and let law enforcement look at it and decide if it's something to it than not call.
The police resources, the county sheriff's office, they should have a list on their wall of the phone numbers of all of these places that they can call them if necessary to report such instances.
Just thinking about the possibility of human trafficking when we're seeing our patients, or initiating a committee to make a protocol for what do you do in the emergency department when you suspect a child or an adult is a victim. What should you do? Write it down as a protocol and teach others to do that.
If an individual comes in to a doctor's office and there's another person present with them, making sure that the medical professional has an opportunity to speak with the patient one-on-one without anyone else in the room. Because that might be the one moment where that individual can say, I don't want to be where I am. The person who has come with me is controlling my actions.
This growing industry that's accelerating, that the medical community needs to take a leadership role in helping to protect our kids.
There is one toll-free number that anybody can call for help or to help another. Call the National Human Trafficking Resource Center at 1-888-373-7888 or text Be Free for help or to report a crime or suspicious activity.
So we know that they're coming to us, and we have the opportunity to, if we can recognize them, to intervene and offer services, offer some sort of help.
If you imagine that that victim could be one of your children, then maybe, that's a good way to look at it and to think how you can help that individual achieve a much better situation in life.